नदियों की ताल से,
हवाओं की चाल से
मिलती है अक्षय ऊर्जा। दिन रात हर पहर, हर शहर हर नगर, रोशन है जीवन की हर डगर। अक्षय ऊर्जा और हम, ये तो है जीवन के संग।
Hi guys, do you know what can be our hero in ensuring a greener future? Any guesses? It is hydrogen and our commitment to net zero emissions. And the National Green Hydrogen Mission is meticulously working to educate and encourage people in this direction.
अक्षय ऊर्जा और हम, ये तो है जीवन के संग।
Hello guys, I'm Akshay and I welcome you all to this podcast episode of Akshaya Urja Aur Hum with my co-host Urja. This episode is brought to you by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy and it is going to be full of interesting facts for all of us.
Hello listeners, this is Urja and what a start to the show. Akshay, your energy is infectious.
Well, thank you Urja, effects of some good company. Anyway, I have a good question for you.
Go on.
Tell me, what element is most abundantly found in the entire universe?
Come on Akshay, I was a science champ in school. It is hydrogen.
And do you know that hydrogen is the key to our greener future?
Really? How?
Well, have you heard of the National Green Hydrogen Mission?
I have some idea, but why don't you tell me more about it?
Of course, for this I would like to invite an industry expert who will deep dive into this mission. Please welcome Shri Sujit Pillai to our segment Baaton Baaton Mein.
बातों बातों में।
Welcome to our show, sir.
Hello listeners, this is Sujit Pillai. I'm a scientist F in MNRE in the Hydrogen Division. Welcome to this podcast.
We're delighted to have you with us today. I hope to break this entire conversation into two parts. First one is about hydrogen, and the later could be about the National Green Hydrogen Mission. I feel that'll be easy for our listeners to comprehend.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Hello to everyone tuned in.
So, sir, let us begin talking about hydrogen first.
Sure, let us start talking about hydrogen. Hydrogen is a colorless, odorless, tasteless, flammable, non-corrosive, non-toxic gas. It has a high diffusivity and buoyancy. It is the most abundant element in the universe. About 75% of matter is composed of hydrogen. Its name comes from the Greek words meaning water generator, highlighting its ability to form water when combined with oxygen.
Okay.
Hydrogen is the lightest element, which is 14 times lighter than air. It is a good source of decarbonization when it is produced by renewable energy.
Wow. Actually, there are so many characteristics of hydrogen that we cannot limit ourselves in one fine object.
Yes.
Would you please like to elaborate on this a little?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Well, hydrogen, as I said earlier, is a colorless gas. However, the color of hydrogen are defined on the source that it is produced from, such as grey hydrogen refers to hydrogen produced from fossil fuels like natural gas but without carbon sequestration.
Yes.
And blue hydrogen is hydrogen produced from fossil fuels like natural gas with carbon sequestration. Pink hydrogen is hydrogen produced from a nuclear source via an electrolysis pathway.
Right.
Turquoise hydrogen is hydrogen produced from methane pyrolysis.
Okay.
For our purposes, green hydrogen is the most important because green hydrogen is hydrogen produced using renewable energy sources like wind or solar power to split water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen through electrolysis, resulting in a zero-emission process.
Wow.
Green hydrogen production emits no greenhouse gases as it relies on renewable energy sources and it can replace fossil fuels in various sectors, reducing carbon emissions and combating climate change.
Wow, that's amazing. It's time for a short break. But after the break, we shall continue our talk on Green Hydrogen Mission.
अक्षय ऊर्जा और हम, ये तो है जीवन के संग।
Welcome back to our podcast on Akshaya Urja Aur Hum. Could you also throw light on some of the uses of hydrogen? I'm sure our listeners would like to use hydrogen in every possible manner.
Yes, hydrogen has many industrial uses. For example, refining. Refineries use hydrogen mainly to lower the sulfur content of diesel made from crude oil. It is also used in the fertilizer industry for green ammonia production. As far as bulk chemicals go, methanol is used to manufacture chemicals, paints, polymers, and is produced from hydrogen. Another application of hydrogen is in plastics and in steel making. Hydrogen is also used in long-haul mobility. Because of its high energy density, it is better suited for long-haul, heavy-duty vehicles than batteries.
Great.
Hydrogen is also now starting to be used for aviation and shipping. Hydrogen can be used for heating and cooling purposes in buildings, but that requires modified infrastructure and appliances to ensure safe and efficient use. Green hydrogen, as will be seen later in the podcast, can also be used in gas turbines or other power generation systems to produce electricity when renewable sources are unavailable.
Thanks a lot, sir, for helping us understand the basics of hydrogen. I'm sure we all know about hydrogen, the element, and its unique capabilities by now. That's very amazing. Since you have mentioned grey and green hydrogen, could you also share with us their prices?
Yes, the grey hydrogen average cost is 150 rupees per kilogram, while green hydrogen varies between 350 to 500 rupees per kilogram.
Okay, so how does the hydrogen compare to batteries for energy storage?
Yes, hydrogen is supposed to be one of the best batteries because it is more viable than batteries for long durations. That means more than 24 hours. Most batteries discharge when the duration of time is very long, and thus this is ideal for remote locations like islands, mountainous regions, etc.
Yes, sir. Since we are the 5th largest economy in the world, I think we should be proud of it. It's time for a short break. But after the break, we shall continue our talk on green hydrogen mission.
अक्षय ऊर्जा और हम, ये तो है जीवन के संग.
Welcome back to our podcast on Akshaya Urja Aur Hum. Today we are discussing green hydrogen awareness with our expert Shri Sujit Pillai ji. What do you think about hydrogen economy, sir?
Yes, that's a very important question. The hydrogen economy envisions a future where hydrogen fuels various sectors, replacing traditional fossil fuels in such a way as to create a sustainable energy ecosystem with minimum environmental impact.
That's so great, sir. Now, how do we compare the cost of green hydrogen fuels to traditional fossil fuels?
Yes, currently green hydrogen is more expensive to produce than fossil fuels, but we expect that in the coming years, as technology advances and economies of scale are achieved, its cost will be comparable if not less than grey hydrogen, other fossil fuels.
Okay, sir. What are fuel cells and how do they work actually?
Yes, fuel cells are a very interesting piece of engineering. They are devices that generate electricity by combining hydrogen and oxygen in an electrochemical reaction. In this reaction, hydrogen and oxygen combine to produce electricity, heat, and water as byproducts.
Okay then. So how does electrolysis play a role in producing green hydrogen?
Electrolysis involves using electricity to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. When powered by renewable energy sources, electrolysis produces green hydrogen without carbon emissions.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing us this wonderful information about the color of hydrogen, the characteristics, on the light of hydrogen, where it is available. Before we move ahead, let me quickly take you to our special segment, Baat Pateki.
बात पतेगी.
Going by the Global Hydrogen Review 2022, hydrogen demand reached 94 million tons in 2021, recovering to above pre-pandemic levels of 91 million tons in 2019 and containing energy equal to about 2.5% of global final energy consumption. Most of the increase came from traditional uses in refining and industry, though demand from new applications grew to about 40,000 tons, up 60% from 2020, albeit from a low base. Considering policies and measures that governments around the world have already put in place, the hydrogen demand could reach 115 million tons by 2030, although less than 2 million tons would come from new uses.
अक्षय ऊर्जा और हम, ये तो है जीवन के संग।
Welcome back, listeners, to our podcast on renewable energy and the planet. This podcast is brought to you by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India. After this amazing fact, let us continue our conversation with Shri Sujit Pillai sir. Sir, now that we have spoken about hydrogen in detail, I'm sure our listeners are anxiously waiting to know your views about the same. Would you tell us about the eagerly waited National Green Hydrogen Mission and why is it necessary?
Sure. The National Green Hydrogen Mission was launched in January 2023 and has very ambitious goals. It has a total outlay of 19,744 crores, with a major part going to the SITE program. SITE stands for Strategic Inventions in Green Hydrogen. The total outlay for the SITE program is 17,490 crores, and the rest, which is almost about 2,300 crores, is for pilot projects, research and development, and other mission components such as outreach and skilling. The mission aims to create a strong green hydrogen ecosystem.
Okay then. So, could you also tell us about the key objectives that this green mission is targeting at?
Yes, the National Green Hydrogen Mission has the following 6 objectives. First, producing 5 million metric tons of green hydrogen each year. Secondly, achieving this production capacity through 125 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity addition.
Okay.
Third, establishing 60 to 100 gigawatts of electrolyzer capacity. Fourth, targeting approximately 1 lakh crore in import savings. Fifth, preventing the release of 50 million metric tons of annual CO2 emissions. And finally, generating roughly 600,000 jobs.
Okay, it seems like an army mission that you're aiming at. Now, what are the main components of the mission?
The main components of the Green Hydrogen Mission are: 1. The SITE program, which stands for Strategic Interventions in Green Hydrogen. This includes financial incentives for electrolyzer manufacturing and green hydrogen production.
Okay.
Secondly, pilot projects in, for example, steel, shipping, and so on. Third, green hydrogen hubs. Fourth, enabling a policy framework. Fifth, implementing regulations, codes, and standards. Sixth, research and development. Seventh, skill development, where we aim to create 6 lakh jobs in a collaboration between MNRE and the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. 8. Public awareness and outreach. 9. International cooperation.
Excellent. So, listeners, it's time for a short break. We will be back soon.
अक्षय ऊर्जा और हम, ये तो है जीवन के संग।
Welcome back, listeners. We were talking about National Green Hydrogen Mission and the role of the Ministry of Renewable Energy in controlling climate change. Now, is there any public awareness initiative that you have taken till far?
Yes, the National Green Hydrogen Mission has budgeted 35 crores for skilling and 70 crores for outreach over the 7 years of the mission.
That's really great, sir. Commendable. Now, would you also like to put some light on hydrogen hubs that you just mentioned, sir?
Sure. A hydrogen hub, sometimes called a hydrogen valley, is essentially an area where you both produce and use the green hydrogen in the same geographical area.
Okay.
The primary goal of a hydrogen hub is to identify regions and have the potential to support large-scale green hydrogen production and utilization.
Okay.
These regions are ideally situated in areas rich in renewable energy resources and near sectors that heavily rely on green hydrogen, such as refineries, fertilizer plants, steel manufacturing facilities, and ports. In the initial phase, the plan is to establish at least 2 green hydrogen hubs with comprehensive infrastructure support, all under the guidance and support of MNRE.
This sounds robust, sir. The ministry should be congratulated for undertaking such a commendable work. Now, how is the government planning to achieve these objectives?
Yes, there are 2 aspects of green hydrogen ecosystem. One is demand creation and the other is incentivizing supply. As far as the first one, which is demand creation, goes, India aims to lead the global green hydrogen sector and is eyeing exports. By 2030, we expect a global demand of over 100 million tons of green hydrogen and its derivatives.
Okay.
Many countries will need to import due to resource limitations, and India is thus planning to emerge as a major hub for production, utilization, and exports of green hydrogen. For incentivizing the supply side, the SITE program has given 2 financial incentives, one for electrolyzer manufacturing and the other for green hydrogen production.
Wow, that's really amazing, sir. I'd like to share my experience with you. When I start cooking, there's so many challenges in front of me. Do you also face any challenges in completing this mission?
Well, there are a few challenges, of course. For example, we are at the global nascent stage, which means that green hydrogen is still in its early development, and the necessary infrastructure is currently lacking. So that is one challenge. The second is that we have to make green hydrogen economically sustainable and viable. To compete in sectors like transportation, it must match the cost efficiency of traditional fuels. Presently, it makes up less than 1% of global hydrogen production due to its high production costs.
Well, we are glad to have you here as you are the hydrogen expert. Could you also tell us something more about the pilot projects that you're undertaking?
Sure. As you know, pilot projects are planned in sectors like steel, long-range mobility, energy storage, shipping, and all with the aim to replace fossil fuels with green hydrogen. Industries in India have also initiated various pilot projects. For example, one major example of a pilot project in India is set up by Acme in Bikaner, where they have a 5-ton per day green ammonia production site. Other pilot projects are those by NTPC, where they've set up 5 fuel cell buses in Leh Ladakh. Gas Authority of India Limited, which does hydrogen blending in natural gas pipelines in Indore. Indian Oil Corporation Limited with a green hydrogen production for Panipat and Mathura refineries. Oil India, which has installed a 100 kilowatt green hydrogen production plant. And L&T with an 800 kilowatt electrolyzer in Hazira, Gujarat.
Oh, so that means the ministry has already achieved so many accomplishments. It's time for a short break. But after the break, we shall continue our talk on green hydrogen mission.
अक्षय ऊर्जा और हम, ये तो है जीवन के संग.
Welcome back to our podcast on Akshaya Urja Aur Hum. Sir, we have also heard about another term known as green steel. Is it anyway related to green hydrogen?
Yes, green steel is closely related to green hydrogen. Currently, as you know, 70% of global steel production relies on coal and coke, leading to high CO2 emissions.
True.
You may be shocked to realize that 1 ton of steel produces 2 tons of CO2. However, by shifting to green hydrogen in steel making, we can replace these fossil fuels in steel production, particularly with carbon credits and market barriers for carbon-intensive steel. Exporting green steel could position India as a global leader in the green hydrogen sector while addressing emissions in a vital infrastructure industry. As you know, India is the second largest steel producer globally and thus has a significant role to play.
You're absolutely right, sir. We are the second largest steel producers. Now that the policy framework is ready and expectations are huge, how do you see the future unfold?
Yes, that's a very nice question. There's a need to announce incentives to convince enough users of industrial hydrogen to adopt green hydrogen. India needs to develop supply chains in the form of pipelines, tankers, intermediate storage and distribution networks, as well as put in place an effective skill program to ensure that lakhs of workers can be suitably trained to adapt to a viable green hydrogen economy. India has a potential to bring down the cost of green hydrogen by using low-cost renewable energy generating plants and the cost curtailment experience gained to solar and wind reverse auctions.
Very well said, sir. Now, last but not the least, could you also share one of your personal experiences, any case study on the National Green Hydrogen Mission that's on the ground level that you yourself have experienced? I mean, some ground reality or some useful information that you would like to share with our listeners?
Well, I can say that we are definitely at the beginning of the hydrogen economy. So, in 1874, Jules Verne, who was a famous science fiction author, he came up with a statement saying that hydrogen is the ultimate fuel. He said that water from which hydrogen oxygen can be created will be the ultimate source of heat and light of an intensity which coal is not capable of.
True. Do you also think this green hydrogen is capable of combating the global warming, or it can protect our environment in some state?
Yes. If you look at, for example, the steel industry, as I said, 1 ton of steel produces 2 tons of carbon dioxide, right? So if we have to decarbonize the steel industry, there is no option but to shift to green hydrogen. And that is where countries like Sweden and Norway are leading the way in decarbonizing this important industry.
Okay, so could it also be a part of sustainable development?
Yes. As per the UN, we have to limit global climate change temperature increases to 1.5 degrees or less. And green hydrogen is one of the major tools we have in our toolbox to ensure that climate change does not become a runaway phenomenon where it increases by 2.5, 3 degrees, because that would be disastrous for the Earth.
I can truly understand, sir. It's time for a short break. But after the break, we shall continue our talk on Green Hydrogen Mission.
अक्षय ऊर्जा और हम, ये तो है जीवन के संग.
Welcome back to our podcast on Akshaya Urja Aur Hum. Now, 8th October, if I'm not wrong, is the Hydrogen Day that we celebrate throughout the world. What are the key elements or the theme of this year's Hydrogen Day that are going to be involved in the 8th October celebrations?
Yes, MNRE is organizing the World Hydrogen Day a day in advance actually because of some logistical reasons. So we are organizing it on 7th October. And this is a day to have a debate and to realize the importance that hydrogen can play in moving to a sustainable and green economy. 8th October is World Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Day. So it recognizes the importance of hydrogen in decarbonizing the heavy polluting industries, as well as the importance of fuel cells in mobility, electricity generation, and so on.
So it means that Green Hydrogen Mission is not just India's mission, it's the mission of the whole world to control the climate change. Am I right, sir?
Yes. The hydrogen economy is here and it will be with us to stay for a long time. And I feel that this hydrogen mission that we have is not just a mission that we can work on in isolation only in India. It has to be a global mission to basically limit the effects of deleterious climate change to minimize the harmful effects of climate change as much as possible.
Thank you so much, sir. I think I should say that with this initiative, the earth will be healed, environment will be healed, and all of us shall be healed.
Yes, what most people are saying is that there will be some climate change effect through the next few years, but as the hydrogen economy kicks in and various other measures are taken, for example, like carbon sequestration and other approaches are taken, I think the earth will ultimately, maybe by the 2040s and 2050s, come to a stage where the climate change is more or less, at relative change in temperature is fixed at less than 1.5 degrees Celsius levels.
Oh, then I would not use AC at all. I'm sure the listeners would definitely use this information for their advantage. Thank you again.
अक्षय ऊर्जा और हम, ये तो है जीवन के संग।
Welcome back, listeners, to the podcast Akshaya Urja Aur Hum. This podcast is brought to you by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India.
Hydrogen is a big contributor in India's mission and vision for a greener future. It is not just helping shape India's growth story, but also enabling India stand at a shining spot globally.
With this proud belief, this is me, Urja and Akshay signing off. Take care, stay energized. This useful and interesting program is being brought to you by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy of the Government of India.
See you soon in the next podcast of Akshaya Urja Aur Hum.
अक्षय ऊर्जा और हम, ये तो है जीवन के संग।
सूरज की किरणों से,
नदियों की ताल से,
हवाओं की चाल से
मिलती है अक्षय ऊर्जा। दिन रात हर पहर, हर शहर, हर नगर रोशन है